Hello friends, welcome to my channel Dhari, where we actually discuss on some technologies. In this session and going forward from this session, I am planning to discuss on cloud computing and AWS as our technology platform. I have planned for 30 sessions within which we will be covering from beginners to an expert and what are the certifications and how to enroll for those certifications. We can have a clear visualization on how to do that. So having said that, let's start our first session on AWS. But before going to AWS, right, I was thinking let's start with a day zero session. Okay, a day zero session means I want to understand what cloud computing actually is. Then we can visualize what AWS is, Azure or Google Cloud platforms and various other platform services that are there in market. Okay, so as a layman, how can we start cloud computing? See, what I mean to say is, whenever if a question is asked to you saying that can you tell me, do you know cloud computing? Okay, so we should be in a position to tell that I know cloud computing from its evolution, from the beginning of time. So today we are not discussing on any specific platforms. Today we will be discussing on what cloud computing is and what are the evolutions that actually transformed a thought process into a reality. Okay, and how this transformation happened, what are the different technologies that came into this computing, and how big is this as of today, and what is the future of these computers what is the future of these computing technologies in later years. So let's start. Having said that, do like, share and subscribe. As I told, we will be discussing on AWS platform. So before that, let us try to understand what cloud computing is from its evolution. Okay, so I have divided these evolutions into 10 years of segment. So within this 10 years, let us try to discuss when this thought process came into picture. After 10 years, what was the improvement? 10 years, 10 years, 10 years and till date. Okay, so be with me here. So first, let us try to understand the history and evolution of cloud computing. As I told you, I have divided this into some 10 years segments, right? So let us start with 1960s, then 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, 2010s, 2010s and 2010s plus. Okay, so what I want we to understand is when was this thought process came into picture and what is the current state of this thought process. So let us try to discuss what happened in 1960s. There was a concept of time sharing was in discussion across the technology grounds. So what is this time sharing? Assume that I am a user. I want to access resources of other users. So how can I do that? During those days, we have one of the most powerful computing technology called as mainframes. So the concept of time sharing was, how can I connect to this mainframes wherein multiple resources were also connected. This was the key idea during 1960s. Remember, in 1960s, the concept was time sharing. We have completed 1960s era. Let us try to jump in 1970s. In 1970s, since before going to 1970s, right? In 1960s, the time sharing concept was the key factor for which was achieved. Okay, in 1970s, the evolution happened with respect to virtualization. Okay, in 1970s, the key concept was virtualization. So what do we mean by virtualization? The factor which drove this virtualization was with respect to virtual machines where a user can be connected, and this virtual machine should have capability for different OS platforms or different software specifications. For example, if I am a Java techie and my friend is a .NET techie, in this virtual machine, if we both get connected, I should get my resources and he should get his resources. This was the key evolution which happened in 1970s. Now, let's discuss on 1980s. In 1960s, it was time sharing. In 1970s, it was virtualization and VM machines that came into picture. In 1980s, the evolution started with networking. So what do we mean by networking? Connecting two systems via some cables or some mode of connectivity is networking. Okay. Now, when these systems are connected, right, we call them as clients. Imagine at a global scale when these clients were connected, and on the top of that, if there is a wrapper where virtual machines are there which have access to these resources, on top of that, time sharing was happening between individuals. Just imagine the 30 years of development that took into this connectivity platform. Now the benefits were getting into realization. For example, a person who is able to access a common platform using virtual machine was able to access different clients over the network or outside the network, some softwares like firewalls or something, whatever be the case. Okay, I'm not going into in depth of that, but somehow I was able to get all the access of these resources. Now the development of applications, the rapid development took place. Rapid development took place. So this evolution happened in 1980s. Now let's discuss on 1990s. 1960s time sharing, 1970s virtualization, 1980s networking, 1990s the rise of internet came. In this networking, there was a problem where I was able to connect to few distances only. Okay, to eradicate this problem, the internet came as a solution wherein across the globe, if I am here, I can still get connected to here. the rise of internet has also contributed to, tell me, to cloud computing. We will come to that. I just want to give you the brief evolution. The rise of internet also contributed to cloud computing. The story is same. Within a circle, clients; outside the circle, time sharing virtual machines; outside the circle, networking; over that, internet. And 1990 was the era which has laid the foundation for cloud computing. So friends, as I told, 1990s was the era when the foundation for cloud computing came into picture, into realization, right? Not realization, into thought process, improvements and other stuff. There was a company in 2000, basically, actually if we go by 2006, okay, called as AWS, Amazon Web Services, started offering cloud platforms. In 2008 to be specific, Google Cloud Platforms and Microsoft Azure were also live. So since the same problem, time sharing was solved, the virtual machines integration was solved, then the networking was solved, and across the globe everyone was connected over the internet was solved. So these companies have started providing services where services means as infra services or software as a services or any other services, okay, which we will be discussing in later sessions. So any other services came, these platforms were providing these services, and we don't need to have all the installations in our local boxes or within our organization. They were giving us an opportunity to use these services in pay as you use model. We even call them as application service providers. So here applications can be infrastructure, softwares or any other services which we will be discussing in later sessions. So in 2000, the first providers for cloud computing came into reality. Let's discuss on 2010. Since the cloud computing providers were available by this time, the evolution, what happened in 2010, if we focus more, let us try to understand a simple use case, a very small use case, okay. See, I have a business, there is a person called A, he runs a business wherein he has to save documents, track his associates' movement, provide some analysis. Okay. So in this case, I have an option to save documents. I can use AWS S3. We will understand them slowly. Okay. For analytics, I can go with Azure Edge. For tracking of my associates' movement, I can use Google Cloud platforms. So as you can see, there is an option for me to either partial of my things I can manage in some provider, partial of my things I can manage in other providers as well. So this hybrid model came into existence in 2010s. Okay, this is what we have to remember. Now let us discuss on 2020s. I have an option for hybrid model. In 2020s, the injection of artificial intelligence and machine learning came into existence by these providers. You know one thing, I just want to tell you a real use case. We all know about Netflix, right? Netflix has completely transformed itself into AWS in 2010s. The reason is scalability. Okay, the reason is scalability. Netflix has completely transformed itself into AWS services because of scalability. So when we are discussing on 2020, the AI and ML factor, something like open AI, okay, edge computing, quantum computing are into evolution model now. As you can see, in recent past, we had a breakthrough of Google Willow chipset, which was based for quantum mechanics. As you can see, now the evolution has already started for quantum physics, quantum computing as well, and integrated with AI, integrated with ML. So 2030, just imagine where could cloud computing will be going on. So with this, I just want to reiterate once again, the evolution of cloud computing started in the year 1960s, where the time sharing concept came into picture. From 1970s, it was with virtualization, using of VM machines, virtual machines and other things. In 1980s, it was networking. 90s, it was internet. 2000s, it was the first providers came into existence. 2010s, it is all about artificial intelligence and machine learning injections into these providers. For instance, consider Salesforce and other providers which are available over the web, who are becoming solutioning partners for different organizations. Till here we are good with. But what do you mean by cloud computing? Let us try to understand a use case. As I told, there is an organization who wants some databases, some infrastructure, some internal firewalls, some other mechanisms to run their operations. So what he can do is, he is having two choices. Choice one, purchase all of these physical or software applications and maintain them in his organization, which can lead him operational costs. Okay, this is the physical maintenance of each of the individual requirement or each of the individual services. He has one another option. Go to a provider who provides you database as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, any other need that is for him, any other specific need is there for this organization, they can provide this organization, and he only has to pay whatever he uses. For example, we have electricity at home, right? So during summer we switch on ACs, so we may get current bill plus more of the bill. During winter we switch off our ACs, so we will not be getting that much of bill. So as much we use, we pay that only. So this cloud computing is also a powerful electricity provider, wherein you can consume everything and pay as you go model. Okay, so this is at a high level discussion on cloud computing. But what is the real definition of cloud computing. So friends, what is the real definition of cloud computing? Let us try to understand. Cloud computing is the delivery of computing services like servers, databases, networking, analysis, etc. over the internet. Here, the internet is termed as cloud, which offers faster, innovating, flexible, and economies of scale. So cloud computing is the delivery of computing services like servers, databases, networking, analysis over the internet, which is also termed as cloud, offers faster, innovating, flexible, and economies of scale. With this, our day 0 session and introduction to cloud computing comes to an end. Having said that, as I told, we will be discussing on AWS, which stands for Amazon Web Services, in our 30 days of session. So friends, day 0 was just the beginning. The real game starts now. Are you ready to play it and understand AWS end to end? Be with me. Till that time, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you all, and Jai.